So the hidden sciences. Of course, there's a sun that shines on the world, and you could see what you could see. But at the same time, the world is a world of cycles. There's Yaakov Kronenberg, the author of this tremendous anthology, which is called The Jewish Astrology, Cosmic Science. In this book, he weaves Torah, Talmud, and Zohar works on spiritual astrology. So let's understand what's going on in astrology. The world is here. We were born onto it, and the world is a world that is turning. It's this ball, for what I guess physicists understand the physics of the turning to some extent, but at any rate, it's turning. It's changing constantly. And even though we have the impression, because we go to our bed at nighttime and we wake up in the morning and we're on all this for our routines, but the actual fact is that everything is constantly changing. Now, this is happening behind the scenes, not in front of the scenes. It's not something you see in the sun. It's something you see at nighttime, because that is where there is also 50%, let's say, of the day is sun, and 50% is darkness. You have to understand that it's 50-50. That is, that you have actually a force which is in the dark, in other words, that you can't see it. And we like to know about it because it's also part, it makes the 100% of reality. And that is where we get to the concept of astrology. Now, I wasn't going to say, because I started to say this year before, and then I forgot what I was saying, is that as far as astronomy is concerned, astrology, they're the same thing. Because all of the astronomy or all the astrology is based on the movements of the planets. And the planets, nobody argues about that. Okay, if you're not interested in the hidden part of reality, then you wouldn't be particularly interested in astrology, because what astrology talks about is mitos. That as the world changes and as our day changes, the atmosphere that we are around changes, and the movements of people around us change. Everything changes, and it is changing. It is constantly changing as I'm talking. Now, those in terms of both the astrological part of this and the astronomical part, we understand that they're both talking about continuous movement. Not just the movement of the Earth is going in a circle, but we also have a circular pattern of a moon that is going around us. And if we consider there's also a pattern that the sun is also moving, where the seven planets, of course, moving around the sun. But as it turns out, that the sun is also moving. So everything is in a state of flux. So Yaakov Kronenberg, I learned with him Baruch Hashem for a couple of years, or maybe 3 or 4 years, I'm not sure. We just came to the end of the line. In other words, he taught me what he had to teach me, what he was going to teach me. And astrology was really the last thing he wanted to learn with me. We went through different places in the Eitz Chaim, and we went through the Sulam Aliyah, and we went through different Kabbalists and different practices, of ultimately ending up in the Sefer Tzniuta, which he has a great deal of the explanations over here in this book, but not so easy to get to. So I spent 3 minutes on that little opening. Let's start this book. There it is, Jewish Astrology. We're going to open it up. The book needs a lot of editing. He gave these are actually transcribed lectures that he gave, and he is available, incidentally, on the internet. You could see him. Just type in Yaakov Kronenberg, and you'll see him. So now he writes like this. This is where we're going to start like this. Is astrology according to Jewish law. He says a commentary by Yaakov Kronenberg on a Torah astrology book written nearly 1,000 years ago by the famous Rabbi Avraham Bar Chia. So he says Rabbi Chia lived in Spain. He would live there for, looks like 70 years, 1070 to 1140, and was the great-grandson of Cheskia Gaon, the last Gaon of the Talmud Academy of Pumbedita. Now understand that in those days, and the centuries immediately before that in Pumbedita and other places like that, there were the great Babylonian, this is the great Babylonian dynasties of people who really understood the depths of the Talmud. So he's a grandson of this great Cheskia Gaon. So he said the Talmudic Pumbedita and a direct descendant of the Davidic line dynasty. So he says, now let me bring this down a little bit because I see this is way up there. So he says he was the teacher of Rabbi Abraham ibn Ezra. Now, the Ibn Ezra is famous and author of numerous books in Hebrew. Hegyon HaNefesh, that's one. Megillah, so Megillah. I haven't read them. This is a quote from Yaakov Kronenberg. He was also a great astronomer and published in the field and incorporated Torah astrology in his daily Torah observance. Notice the word is Torah astrology. This commentary deals with the legal parameters, definitions, and applications of Torah astrology. Now, we can understand this before I get started. Maybe the next piece is going to be, well, we'll see how this works. Let me get this down here. Now, I have done a little bit of editing, but it's not as bad as I thought it was when I originally read this book. I forgot what I was going to say, so let me just get over here and read this commentary by Yaakov Kronenberg. So Yaakov Kronenberg was giving these lectures on internet about 10 years ago. Tonight I'm going to start a new series of lessons dealing with how the Jewish religion views astrology. Judaism is based on a whole series of laws, positive and negative commandments. And remember that he's saying the shiur over to the audience, which will undoubtedly include those who are not Jewish and not observant. So which the Jew has to fulfill in his or everyday life. So we're talking about positive and negative commandments. And one of the questions is, can a religious Jew follow and believe in astrology? Does it work? Are you allowed to go to astrologers? We are going to cover these and other fascinating questions by studying a book of an ancient rabbi who lived about 1,000 years ago. He lived just before the year 1100. His major works were published around 1100, so he may have been born about, say, 30 or 40 years before that, around the year 1060 or 1070. Now, in the introduction, he said he was born in 1070, so we'll go on. I remember, maybe he said 1060. Okay, his name was Rabbi Abraham Bar Chia. He was a great rabbi. He lived during his generation in Spain. He wrote many books on all sorts of subjects, and he lived a short time before the Ibn Ezra. As we understand, the Ibn Ezra was one of his Talmidim, who quotes him in his commentary of the Torah a number of times. That is, the Ibn Ezra, as I said, is famous. He wrote very important books about Jewish law, astronomy, mathematics, and he also wrote an important book about ethics. He was a very prolific author and a deep scholar. Now, it's important to understand at the time that he lived, and we're going to see from other places, they lived in the Muslim part of Spain, and this was a time of tremendous flowering of art, let's say, of the art, the art of poetry, the art of music, different kinds of the different poets that were also rabbis. And they study, of course, deeply in all the different things that are available. So we're going to stop here right now, and tomorrow we're going to get into the next shiur. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow. I'm trying to work this in because I'm still working in my advanced old age over here. So we'll see some more tomorrow. This is Baruch Fleisch.